What's going on, teamers? Welcome to DigiPod, the digital podcast. I'm your boy Varni today in the studio with my boy Dan. What's up, yo?
What's going on? It's been a while. We haven't seen you in like a week or so, something like that.
It's only been a week. I'm the host of this on a reoccurring basis. Thank you very much. Just because I'm not here 1 week, doesn't mean I haven't been here in a minute. You know what I mean?
We missed you. The audience missed you too. You know?
Oh, thank you, audience. Let me know. Did you miss me down in the comments? Yo, listen. So I was talking with the wife, right? And we were watching some video, and it's like 30 seconds in, and the YouTuber goes, "Hey, before we hop into the video, if you guys like this, please do drop a like, a comment, and subscribe." And she goes, "I hate when you do that because I haven't even watched the video yet. I don't know if I'm gonna like it." And I'm like, listen, I understand where you're coming from.
I especially nowadays, I respect it more than I did prior. I understand the hustle of it.
Right. I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. I know that you hate this, but let me tell you something. If I don't tell you that in the first 30 seconds before we hop into the video, there is a high percentage chance there is a very high percentage chance that you don't make it to the end where we do say it. And if you're one of the creators that puts it in the middle, there is still a high percentage chance that the viewer doesn't make it to the middle of the video. So then they still don't end up seeing it. So by letting you know off the rip, whether you like it or hate it, it's there in your mind. And you're like, whoa, I'm not gonna like this video because you told me to. But then you might watch it and then you're like, okay, I mean, I kind of do like this video. And then you're more inclined to drop the like than you would have been if we didn't mention it. And subscribe if we didn't mention it. So I'm sorry to all of you who are out there and you hate when we do that. It is the game. You gotta play the game, right? And when we're talking about playing the game, it's the same thing with Digimon. DigiDane just released a video today talking about if you're not trying to win. He was talking about like scrubs, and basically said that like depending on like how you complain and what you're talking about when you're playing games, what you're blaming your losses on, and depending on what you're playing, you're not actually trying to win. Generally speaking, his thesis, the thesis of his argument was, generally speaking, if you're not playing the best deck, and I don't want you to take this like verbatim out of my mouth. I want you to go watch the video for yourself and make your own conclusion, but this is going to tie into my argument. The thesis was, if you're not playing the best deck, then you're really not playing to win, especially or particularly if you're blaming your losses on, yeah, that deck is stupid, like Sakuyamon. I hate that. I'm never going to play a deck like that, and yada, yada. And it's the same thing here with YouTube. I can say all day that I don't want to be like those YouTubers, and I'm not going to say like, comment, and subscribe to my video in the first 30 seconds because I'm better than that. But you know what? I'm not. Please like this video. Comment down below letting us know what you thought, and subscribe so that you know when future videos come out, because you know what? That is how we get you as the viewer to think about it. We get this channel to grow, because that's what we're trying to do out here. We're trying to make this channel grow. You know what it is.
That's a whole fact. That's a whole fact.
But speaking about that DigiDane video, it was a very interesting watch. I do implore you guys to go watch it. We might touch on some topics from that later today, but first we do have to talk about locals. Dan, what's up?
Hey,
how was it?
Speaking on DigiDanes, I went to lose because I played a completely rogue trash deck, you know. Mind you, I did pretty decent, get a second place with this said trash deck that I wasn't trying to win with, you know. So your boy went through to locals with a Mamimon, and you know, your boy once upon a time did a whole deck profile back in the day. We also made a mat on it. We also got sleeves for it because, you know, Mommy wants to go, you know what I'm saying? And so you about to go find the mat for it. So, you know, the text has a lot of you know, improvements, we can call it. And he's still, I guess, looking for the mat possibly or something. Let's see what he's doing. Let's see what he pulls out. He might pull out a sleeve, I don't know. Oh, he does. He did get the mat. Ooh, look at that. That's the Mamimon. Speaking of which, check our you know, our site at dgu.gg. That's where you can go and buy that Mamimon mat.
Also, I apologize for the state of our site. Every site has like Google ads our site is currently like overrun. Like I talked about like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do what everybody else is doing. I hate ads as much as the next person, but I also acknowledge I have to put ads on the website.
But it broke?
The ads. And I'm about to drop a big one, so skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. The ads fucked up the website. Like I was trying to browse it on my phone because I was trying to send the link to someone. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with the site? Why is like, bro, it's like picture, ad. The name of like whatever we're selling, ad. Price, ad. Add to cart, ad. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I did not authorize this. So I apologize for the state of the website. I'm gonna log in and either see if I can like reduce the amount of ads or I'll just end up cutting it out entirely, because at the end of the day, brand matters more than anything. Like money is nice, helps offset the cost of the editor, but that is disgusting. I hated looking at that. I was like, what the really fuck is this? So I apologize in advance, but yes, you can go check out our playmats on the website. I have sleeves. I haven't listed them. I also have like new digi counters. I don't have them on me, but like I designed an entirely new set of digi counters. Well, like I have so much going on. I just haven't had a chance to like get everything up. So be on the lookout. There's going to be like a video or something at some point. But yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I played Digimon. It's super fun playing it. So I mixed it with a lot of DM stuff. I didn't go full bottom end DN because of the color restrictions. Unfortunately, there's not yet, at least. There's no black Digi-Egg and black rookies for DM style decks. And so that kind of hurt what I was trying to do, which is turn 0, turn 1, whatever you want to call it. Senbon Dokkan. That's got to be a play in your hand at all times, because sometimes that high roll is so strong that like you can't respond to it. So, or you can't respond enough. Because like, just imagine, I understand the idea of like, damn, you giving your opponent 9 memory, but if you high roll and you get 4 Digimon on board and it's their first turn now, usually they can't just deal with that type of board presence. And then you just go next turn, swing jamming, and they're all living unless you hit something bad at security. And what do you do about the following turn with all that Digimon? And then set it for ace bait type plays, right? And so you want to have that live at all times. So I cut out the rookies, at least for like the DMs, and I just kept it back to black base. We went straight up all Gatomons from the mineral one, the one that Close has, the one that's unleashing trash a mineral draw 2. We got a different Gatomon, and then we got Gato X. So it's really cool. Bottom end, I think. And then the rookies is Thundermon plus Monochromon. Monochromon is super clutch.
Thundermon.
Probably the best like DM champion, at least in like all of the DM archetype. And so being able to just on play and one swing DigiGuard something is so good. And it's even good in that style deck as well. Thundermon is clutch because the Metal Mamimon, so the new DM Metal Mamimon allows you to Digivolve over Thundermon for 1. And you're like, but then that's a champion and there's a 3-cost Evo or 4-cost Evo. How is that Evo for 1? Well, my good audience that's listening carefully, there's a black box that says my Evo's over Mamimon for 1. Guess what's text on the bottom of Thundermon? It's not a black box like in today's world. It's a text that says this Digimon is also Mamimon on board or whatever, basically. So you're allowed to Evo over for 1. And that momentum swing is so strong because let's say you have a training, even with like 1 memory, you could go raise a rookie, training, Evo to Thundermon for 0, Evo to Metal Mamimon for 1, potentially bomb deck something, or source strip, something that's important. And then you can Evo into your 6. So with 1 memory, you can go from a 3 to a 6 and give your opponent 3 memory. And that's actually really good and super efficient. Not like crazy and like I feel like in today's standards of like efficiency, but being able to do all that and get to your 6 is pretty good, in my opinion. Especially since it's not like the best effects of the world of each one of them. So you do what you do with it. And so same concept as prior, right? You try and board spam with a bunch of level 5s, and then Prince Mimon gets everything jam and reboot. So you just swing out as much as possible. Try to get a Boncho with a Prince Mimon on board, swing 2 checks jamming. Always really strong. But in today's world, we have what's called aces. And so the deck is also kind of like a pseudo level 6 ace spam type deck, because you have 5s on board so easily and free that they become, all right, cool, what can I do on your opponent's turn? Let's just ace them. And so the choice of aces were like poor on my part, just because I was trying different ones. Just try, like, for example, High Andromon's ass. But I want to try just to see how it was. And it was cool. It did its thing. Being able to put something in security and then trash security is whatever. But besides that, it doesn't do much. It has all turns protection, which is cool. But in that style deck, it doesn't matter. And so you're really just protecting High Andromon. That's it. So I was running that. I was running the Titamon. Titamon was really good because of being able to play Monochromon from trash, Digidraw something. Retail blocker, always really strong. And then I was running Dartramon Ace and Metal Seedramon Ace. So cool for them. I forgot about Puppet Ace for some reason. That card is so much more cracked than I forgot it was. That's definitely going to be a Switch inclusion moving forward. I used to run the Vikemon. Vikemon will probably go back in and maybe consider Mega Gargo again. Mega Gargo was really good because it gives you that extra offense to be able to go swing a suspense swing. And so that's also a potential ability to have. Justimon is also a good option. I was definitely debating the Justimon play. Pop opponents, options, immunity for the turn and stuff, really good. So there's definitely a lot of options we can run in that type of deck, and I think it's pretty cool that you can. What else? And also running the Analog Man plus Analog Youth, the DM versions. Really cool because Metal Mamimon is Cyborg and DM, so you can always get the effect off of Analog Man. Same thing with the DM Mamimon, since it's a DM Digimon. You can just gain a draw, gain a memory. When you free play them, you can free play them off of Prince Mamimon, tap the Analog Man, you still gain the memory and the draw. Really strong. Analog Youth, being able to add sources underneath like the DM Mamimon to be able to play out Metal Mamimon in the future. Or another Monochromon or something like that. What else? Being able to just tuck cards underneath, give everything reboot if you don't have a Prince Mamimon as well because of the Analog Youth. It's just a lot of cool little combos you can do with the deck. That I was learning on the fly and stuff, so it's pretty cool. So round 1, I played against a DM version 1 style deck. It's pretty cool. Shin Mazuma is really strong, and it can get rid of basically anything on board, and it has second attack +1 natively on it. Really strong card. Ended up winning 2-1 just because game 1, Varni Dan, I went Senbon turn 0. I hit like 2-3 Digimon off of it, and then Jarrell hit a Senbon security the following turn, and I got like 2-3 more Digimon board, and I'm like, all right. He was like, you know what, Scoop, you high rolled the F out of me on that one. And then game 2, I didn't high roll like that. I went like, that deck is probably one of the few decks that could make me make poor decisions just because of what the potential high roll. And if you whiff, it feels bad because you're giving them 9 for nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, I think like game 2, I whiffed twice, and it's just like 18 free memory like in the span of the game. I'm like, hey, yo, you got this game, dog. Ain't no way. Like the crazy part, I almost made the comeback too, but I didn't have enough bodies for it because there's nothing that gives rush in the deck yet. That's definitely something the deck needs, just like kind of like a Garuda X. So whenever they decide to make the Mamimon X lines, if they can give like a Mamimon X that gives your Mamimon rush or something, I think that would be really cool. It gives that extra push for game potentially at times.
Right.
So I couldn't close it out. And in game 3, I didn't send bond turn 0, but like I hit 1 in security, and that ended up like changing the game for me. Getting Prince Mayumon out, even if it's just Prince, is strong because he's a free level 6. Free level 6 is anything, and no matter what deck it could be a trash deck, it's still strong. It's just how strong the effects of the card is, you know?
Yep.
So cool, I won that. Round 2, I played against Dynamon. And you're like, Dan must have lost that one. Dynamon's a good deck. Oh, my good listening audience. Your boy also won that 2-1 with Mamimon. And you're like, how? Well, it's called back plays by your opponent. It's called me hitting Senbon like a god at times. And it is what it is, you know? So the biggest weakness of Dynamon, and the reason why it has the protection, that protection is D-Digivolve. The whole deck D-Digivolves. Mamimon as inheritables when attacking D-Digivolve 1. Monochromon, D-Digivolve. What else? There's some other stuff I have in there. Catch Mamimon is D-Digivolve. You know, there's a lot of ways to just D-Digivolve things. There's not much going on when it comes to like board wiping outside of Metal Mamimon. Also, the aces have D-Digivolve. I forgot about that. Like Darkdramon Ace, D-Digivolve Pop, Metal Siegramon, D-Digivolve bottom deck. So when you have all those effects that's always live, it's hard for Dynamon to deal with, kind of. Especially when they don't have the turn of protection. So that's kind of like what happened. I also had, it was twice it happened in game, I think it was like 1 and 3. I know it was game 3. It could have been 1 or 2. I don't remember. He went medieval. He suspended my Prince Mamimon and a Mamimon. I had like 3-4 bodies on board. He kills Prince. And then the first time he does it, he swings and does an alliance into my Mamimon. So I'm like, all right, cool. Ace. My ace is stronger than your medieval, so you just auto die. And if I remember correctly, I think the first time I did it, I went into no Seizure Ace and then bomb deck his champion or something he had on board, and then medieval crashes into it. So I board cleared without me even like trying, just because he didn't alliance, and then I ended up causing the game because the momentum was just too strong. I said this in the past. If like a lot of times when people medieval, you medieval when you're in a losing situation. And if your opponent knows how to deal with it instantly, it doesn't matter if you medieval, honestly. And I think I'm someone who's quite adept at, all right, I see medieval. Let me know how to get around it as soon as possible just to get rid of it. Because once I do, you got nothing on your board most likely. And so legit, I dealt with it immediately. I aced into it. And so I think game 2 or game 1, he got it fast. Dynamon 3 checks. It's like sometimes you can't do anything about it. And then game 3, same thing. He was in a losing position. He went medieval. He has nothing on his board. And I go, all right, I'm an Evo into Titamon Ace. You die now. We're 12k again. We're stronger than your medieval. And, you know, and I was off to the races, and then we won. And then I was in the finals. I played against Gino's new DM Stun version 2 deck. And that deck is very, very floodgatey, very toxic feeling to play it against, because it's all based around Vademon, the version 2 Vademon, which very, very strong card, and people aren't giving enough. I feel like people aren't giving enough looks into it or credit to what it does. First off, it just free 3 Digivolve. There's no reason to do it. You just Digivolve when attacking, when Digivolving. And then you strip one of your resources to bounce a low 4 play cost 4 Digimon or Tamer whenever. There's a cost to it, which is stripping your face down cards, but in a DM deck, you can always facilitate that. And then he has fragments, so it's hard to deal with if you're just a deck that just deletes things. And so it's very sticky
for no reason.
Yeah, it's a very sticky card. You also have Vegemon that can facilitate the Vademon instantly. And it's, mind you, you might be able to delete it the first time. I dealt with Vademon game 1 like 4 or 5 times because Vegemon can evo it from trash as well. And so it's like it's always around. And then his top end, is Metallic and Volcanic Dramon. So very floodgate type of deck. He's also running Digimon Emperor. This deck is just full control. And if your Metallic lives or Volcanic, then you do damage in that way. But it's very controlling. It's very strong. I was able to get a game 1 because he ended up decking out. But I think I would have got it anyways, just because like the tempo of the game. But then 2 and 3, the moment I let him set up the Vademon, it was very hard for me to deal with. Yep. Like game 2 or 3, I like for a split moment I forgot about Vademon and I played a Tamer for no reason. And I was like, oh, this is about to get bounced back to my hand immediately. And that's what happened. And no tempo swing, no Senbons and security. So I couldn't get like that instant tempo when I needed it. And Volcanic Metallic is very strong. Like being able to be like, hey, you're 6K or 6 play cost. Digimon can't move from raising. It's a pain in the ass because I like to chill on the Thundermon in that type of deck. So I can evo for once a Metal Mamimon or like a Mamimon, whatever. And then, or just raise rookies. You can't just raise rookie because of Digimon Emperor. If you're willing to lose the cost, the 2 memory, good. But sometimes I need that in that type of deck. And then the Metallic lets you, I don't know what it is. You can't Digivolve champions, I think it is.
Digivolve, yeah, level 4s or higher, I believe.
Yeah. You can't Digivolve your level 4 lower Digimon, I think it is.
Or level 4 lower, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, all right, cool. I can like Senbon, get around it or something. But like games 2 and 3 was just so controlly for him. I couldn't get the aggressiveness to like keep going. So I ended up losing that. Deck did pretty well. Honestly, even with like the bad aces I had, like the high Andro, I really liked how it felt. I gotta switch things up for me to like play more and go from there. Cool deck though, for sure.
Sounds like someone had a fun time at locals. He finally got to play something he enjoyed rather than, I don't know, trash. I'm just kidding.
I mean, the deck is trash. What are you talking about?
It's the trash we enjoy, right? It's
yeah.
I feel like I've had a trend, so I guess I should just keep it going. It's like me and Tyrannomon, you know what I mean? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to talk about Tyrannomon again. Oh
my god. You got comments talking about, all right, they're tired of hearing you talk about Tyrannomon now, you know?
No, he said, if I'm remembering the comment correctly, he was like, you know, another podcast we're already talking about Tyrannomon. We got to let Bandai know, man, us Tyrannomon enjoyers. We got to stand up. Just like a certain Lin-Manuel Miranda said in a certain play called Nudge, Nudge. We got to rise up. All right. It's that time. I didn't go to locals. But if you are listening to this podcast, you happen to be in our general area. If you happen to be in Lehigh Valley, we don't have a store in Lehigh Valley, so sorry, that's not what I was going to tell you. However, I'm finally beginning to feel blessed like the fellas in Connecticut because we have another store. Well, I have another store, I should say. It's not necessarily another store for Dan because it's an hour from him. For me, it's an hour one way and an hour the other, so it doesn't matter. But I have 2 stores now in my close vicinity that I can drive to get to Digimon. So,
well, yeah, I'm still going to it.
I know you're still going, but you know, Gamer's Edge from you is what, like 15 minutes, if so much?
Something like that, yeah.
And then Madame Mocha for him. So it's called Madame Mocha. It's in Palmerston, Pennsylvania. That's probably like about 50-ish minutes.
It's an hour.
50 to an hour. For me, Gamer's Edge is like 45 on a good day, and then typically like 50 to an hour. Madame Mocha's last night when I went for Grand Archive, it was like 35 minutes. I was like, this is fantastic. We are finally having more than one Digimon locals in the area, and it's wonderful. They're hosting Digimon locals tonight as we're recording this podcast. Dan couldn't go because he's got car problems, and
why'd you say it like that?
Car problems, and I have a shit ton of editing to do. So, and I leave for Boston on Friday, so I need to get caught up with this stuff before I leave because I'm not going to get anything done over the weekend. But it's so cool just having another store. We've been a one store area. Well, I guess there was like AU, alternate universe, but
that's not like within our like facility. It's not like an hour radius drive for us or anything like that.
It kind of is for me. The problem is I have to take the turnpike, and if I have to take the turnpike to get there, exactly. I know it's like prices are different everywhere for everybody on the turnpike, but our turnpike, so we have one called the Northeast Extension, and to get from here to basically anywhere near Philly, it's going to cost a minimum of like $6 one way. I think from here to AU is probably like $8 one way.
Something like that, yeah.
And then, so taking that both ways is 16, and I'm not with it. So yeah, I don't care to go to AU like that, and I definitely don't care. Ooh, Sunrise and Landramon. I definitely don't care because I have to go on the turnpike. But being able to take the freeway both to Mana and Mocha and Gamer's Edge is fantastic. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you guys something. As a card game player, since I've been playing Card Fight, I've never had a card store near me that does the games that I play. The closest one, when I got into Card Fight, that store, Gone Gaming, was still like 40 minutes from me. So like, I mean, even Mana and Mocha's, that was like 30, it's still like 35 to 40. But for when I got into Digimon, closest store was Gamer's Edge, and that was like 50 minutes away, 45, 50. So it's like, sigh. But to have two stores is like, wow. So yes, I am a bit excited.
Like, care about Digimon too.
Right. Yeah, let me tell you something. I've seen, Mike made that Gundam video, and like a lot of people were like, oh, you should go, or this one person was like, you should go start your own LGS since you know everything, and since you can be so benevolent. And I'm like, listen, no. I've seen like good business owners, and I've seen bad business owners. We have a store near us that would do Digimon. Dan and I went there once. We never went there again.
Oh, yeah. I had to think of the name. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And mind you, that's like 20 minutes from you too, if that, right?
No, that's like 10.
Yeah.
10 to 15. And I will never go there again. You want to know how bad this store is? It's not the store, it's the owner. You want to know how bad it is, Dan? When I went to Mana and Mocha's last night, I was talking about like how glad I was that like the guy, so his name is Mocha Joe. I was first of all, he has a really fucking cool story. But I was talking about like how like he's a really cool guy, how I appreciate like how he is as an owner, especially with what he's trying to do for all the different card game communities he's trying to support. And then I started talking about how like I would rather drive out there 35, 40 minutes because the stores near me don't do anything. And then I started naming them. And then I said, that store that shall not be named because I'm not trying to come here to bash. And then somebody was like, oh, that store, that owner? Oh, I hate that guy. And then like another guy was like, yeah, that store is it. And I was like, okay, God, so no, we're not the only one. Like, that's what the situation is. So, like I said, I'm not trying to come here to badmouth a store. But I do know what a good store looks like and what a bad store looks like. And that's why I'm very hypercritical of any store owner, because I witness with my own eyes these people who have an immense care for their card game community, for for card games in general. Like I told Mocha Joe, I was like, yo, I appreciate that you are a new store, because he just opened. Maybe, I don't even know how long ago, but let's say within the last 6 months. I'm like, I appreciate that you're a new store and you are not charging market price for the product that you got for Gundam. And he was like, yeah, man, I am a card game player. I know what it's like. I'm just trying to give back. And I'm like, that's
because
you can do it.
He's a card game player first before he's like a business person.
And you have to be both, right? Like you have to be both business owner. You can't make bad business decisions. But like When I think about the Gamer's Edge, they charged us under MSRP and they didn't need to do that. Dan could have very well came to us and said, hey guys, I need to charge MSRP. He already gave us the heads up. He was like, we might be getting more restock in, but if the distro charges me more, I have to charge you guys more. And I'm like, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Especially because you're selling to us under MSRP when nobody else is selling. And I'm not saying that every store needs to sell under MSRP. That's totally dependent on your store, what their financials look like and whatnot. But like, you just really got to appreciate the good ones out there. That's all I'm trying to say. You guys as players, you go to your stores, you know what good stores look like, or you should know what good stores look like and what bad stores look like. And if you don't know, because you've only got one, that is the hand we are dealt. Luckily, you know, Dan and I got dealt the good hand because we've got a good one. But if I didn't know about Gamer's Edge, and I think like a lot of people in Allentown, where I live, they might have fallen off Digimon for the same reason, because there's no store near us that does it. And the stores that do, like the Encounter, they're not really trying to build a community. So just a little shout out to the LGSs if you're an LGS owner. You know, we appreciate all that you do for communities, because at the end of the day, man, card games, you're playing it with another person. You're not playing that damn card game by yourself. So inherently, a card game is about community, and it's important that we build up and stand for our community. But that's it for this little philanthropical part of podcast, I guess, whatever. Let's talk about a topic that unfortunately Mike can't be here with us tonight to discuss, because I think Dan brought it up and Mike was talking about it. Mike was kind of hyped to talk about it, but he's not here because he's a bitch. So
Mike
next time, get your ass on podcast. We're going to talk about side decks. So I'll let Dan go first, and then I'll retort, and then we'll see how it goes from there. So Dan, why do you think side decks should be in?
Because it's the best of 3 game, and that's it.
What does that matter?
No, I'm kidding. All jokes aside.
What does it matter? What does it matter if it's a best of 3 game? I think it does matter,
for sure. Because if it's a best of 3 game, you should be able to side deck the cards that matter in your matchups, right? I don't know. I think we're at a point in Digimon, at least, where I think there's enough cards. We're at a point where 5 years into the game now, we have a lot of cards in the game, and I think we're at a point where we should be able to side deck for our worst matchups. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's skill and skill. That takes skill to understand what you need to side deck against, or what you need to side deck things in and out for. I think that takes I think it's very, like, I don't know, like trying to put the words in my head at the moment. All right, for example, right? Let's say you're running a deck that doesn't like running floodgates or something like that, right? You're running, because you only have 50 cards. You only got 50 cards for your space of deck, and you don't want to run floodgates because it impedes your impact. But you know that some matchups you need it, aka Royal Knights, right? Let's give it the most easiest example to play against. Everybody knows you need a Psychmon type card in your deck, right? In today's current format, mind you, this episode pod is recorded prior to the ban list, so we don't know what's going to happen with that yet. We don't know what's going. We don't know what's the meta going to look like in the future. But you need your cards like Psychmon that says you do all turns. Players can't reduce play costs, stuff like that, right? And let's say you're playing a deck like, I don't know, let's say Greymon, right? Let's say Greymon. Greymon naturally doesn't run floodgates at all. They want their 10 to 12 Agumons, and that's it, right? And you run into Royal Knights, right? Now you can have your side deck against a matchup that you don't normally probably can't deal with, maybe. So you have your 2 Psychmons or 3, whatever. I guess in this instance it'd be what, Solarmon? I think it is Solarmon. I think it's the one that's the red equivalent.
Yes, Solar.
And so for decks that have like a terrible matchup against something, you can at least have, you know, a card or 2 that can be like, all right, at least if I see this matchup, I have something I can use against it. Like back in the day, let's say back in the day when set count was prevalent, right? What's the option card that says your opponent can't play option cards?
Emergency program shutdown.
Emergency program shutdown, right? What if you were able to run it in your deck, but you know that set count was a hard counter to you, right? If you at least know you can side deck it, you go into game 2 and side deck the card and so on. I don't know how big a side deck would be for Digimon compared to like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll talk more about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Side of things probably after Varni, but maybe 10 cards, 5 to 10 cards or something max or something. And mind you, because it's 4 of, so maybe I guess it has to be an even number most likely. So maybe like 8 or 12, because that means you can run a play set of 3. Like, yeah, I said that correctly, right? Like you can run up like 3 play sets of something, right? So right. 12 cards. Let's say it's 12 cards, right? Something like that. Or 8, I guess. Probably be a little better. 2 or 3
play sets of any particular card.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you want to run that minimum, or you can run, more but less of, yeah. And so I think we're at a point where we need it. Just what it is.
How do you feel about the argument that side decks make the better decks way better, and it doesn't help the... I don't like using these terms, but I have to use them in this instance. How do you feel about the argument that side decks make tier 1 decks way better and tier 2 decks better, but not as better as it makes tier 1 decks? You understand what I'm saying there?
I mean, all right, sure. So I could give you an example. What trainings made tier 1 decks more tier 1 and made tier 2 decks more tier 2? Like, did it change anything? Like, those tier 1 decks were always going to be tier 1 no matter what. It's the same concept of side decking. If you're on side deck, you know what you're side decking against. Like, so a tier 2 deck is going side deck against the top 2-3 decks of the format anyways. And that the best deck in the format most likely won't side deck against a tier 2 deck, because they're more worried about the other tier 1 decks. So now when that tier 2 deck gets faced up to him, they actually will have a better matchup against a tier 1, because the tier 1 is not prepared side decking wise for that deck. You know what I'm saying? And so now they have to work in a different way, and it has to figure out their game plans a little differently because of that.
So in the case of something like Royal Knights, right? We all know what the card is. You don't side deck, like any other card doesn't matter. If you know, obviously right now, Royal Knights is the issue. There's probably 2 cards immediately going into your side deck, probably at 2 ofs each, if not 3 ofs. And that is your play cost reducer and can't play Digimon by effects. Correct. Because getting those cards out against Royal Knights means that Royal Knights is in for a tough time. So inherently, then Royal Knights has to side deck against those possibilities.
Correct.
And it has to...
For example, you don't like playing Marcus or like the options to kills 3k or less stuff, because they don't really fit your game plan. So now if you have that as a Royal Knights player, right, you don't have to run those in your main deck. So now that game one, whoever you played against, whatever happens, right? And now you're prepared for game 2 and 3. All right, I know he's going to be running these Psychomons. All right, let me put in these Marcuses. Let me take out the cards I know is not as needed in this matchup. Like, let's say, I don't know. I'm going to give you a stupid example, right? Let's say if you know a deck is immune to DP neg. Like, let's say their whole effects was DP neg protection, right? And so you're like, all right, cool. This Alphamon or Yukon, I could side this out for now, because I know this matchup is not, he's going to be irrelevant. So, all right, cool. Here comes the Marcuses. Here comes whatever. So I can kill these, the rookie floodgate rookies on a cheaper, more, cheaper memory cost, right? And so on, right? Or like, I don't know. What do they run? Force. You know that deck has, whatever deck you're playing against has bounce protection. Take out Force. We put in Marcuses. We put in Queen's Device. We put in Crimson Blaze, whatever the F it is that you want.
Right.
And it fits better on per matchup basis.
Yeah, and that much I understand. But I feel like it also inherently makes that matchup so much more difficult. In this case, whether we're talking about Royal Knights or even if we talk about what was meta, like Davison again. Imperial, there you go. I don't know why words are fucking hard. Blue-green Imperial specifically, right? To tech against that, you know, side deck cards might be something like also can't play Digimon by effects to try to get around the Davison Ken. Or depending on what you have, you might throw in a little bit of a red package so that you can use Crimson Blazes. Or I don't really know. I guess
Digivolve options or something.
Yeah, like depending on what your deck is doing, yeah, maybe you put in the Digivolve options. But the that I feel like that I don't feel like any deck in the game right now. If we look at like all the decks that have been like tier 1 top, I don't think any deck has really had an answer to it. That was, well, I guess outside of SecCon, right? Because SecCon was always Pepsi package, or no, sorry, not Pepsi package. I guess it was called Pepsi because it was blue and red decks. But yeah, you splash in like the 2-cost tie back then, like in the really early days. 2-cost tie and ADP just so that you can play ADP, or Lightning Joust in the case of like Gabu Bond. And outside of SecCon and Royal Knights, like, have we had any other decks where it's like, all right, like these are cards that need to be in your deck to deal with this matchup, because if you don't, like, that matchup it's not free, but like obviously they have a big edge because of what the deck does.
Every instance there's always something. Like Mirage, the best thing to do against Mirage was run double Gazimon. You know what I'm saying?
I guess.
Like
that's not a good example.
Yeah, but like as a purple hybrid play in that era, right? That was my goal. All right, cool. How do I get double Gazimons on board when I know that card might be dead against other decks? Anything like that, memory gains or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, or even like, I think side deck would make options like destruction options more relevant. Because you go, all right, cool. I know what this deck against. I can side deck. I have my side deck full of like security bomb type cards. I could put a couple of those in, and I know it will do well in this matchup. You know, stuff like that. Obviously, it's an RNG factor. You don't know if it will, but I mean, hey, maybe it will type of thing. I don't know. I think it will work.
Let me ask you another question. In Yu-Gi-Oh, every format's different. Yes, I know. But in any given format, approximately how many decks are there in the meta when it's not a tier 0 format?
A lot. Especially in today's world, there's a lot of decks running around.
Give me a general number that you can think of. Is it something like 15, something like 20?
So let's go like, I would say there's at least like 15. Like if you look at it like today, if you look at the last like couple regionals, there was probably at least like 15 decks, something like that.
Got it. And before anybody pops in the comments to say like, oh, we got to stop using Yu-Gi-Oh as an example to compare to, listen, that's what Dan's played, right? That's Dan's card game. I got to ask the questions that pertain to our realm of knowledge. Yes, it might not be the best example at times. The game has been running
forever.
20 plus years easy. 20 plus
like
years.
2000, I think it was.
If Mike was here, I could ask him about Magic and One Piece, but he's not, so I can't.
I'm pretty sure Magic side decks too, and their normal.
In standard, format. I'm almost positive that they side deck. I don't think you side deck in Commander because Commander is just 100 card singleton.
I think that's just different though. That's like I'm talking about like their main standard formats.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's standard and then there's Commander. And if I'm wrong, you guys can crucify me in the comments. I'm not a Magic player, but as far as I know, like it's standard. That's their organized play. But I also know that there's scenes for Commander now, whatever. But I don't believe Commander has side decks because it's 100 card singleton. But I can't talk about Magic because I don't know Magic, and Mike isn't here to give us that realm of knowledge. So we got to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll talk later about Grand Archive. I'll also use Dragon Ball as an example. The reason I asked that question is because so my argument against side decks, I'm not necessarily against them, but I don't know if we're at a point yet where we can have side decks in Digimon for two reasons. My first reason is because it changes the engine. The Digimon is so easy to change the engine of what you do, and I don't know if that's a thing that should be allowed. I feel like, I know they test drove side decks when we had DigiFest all those years ago, and I believe it was 10 card side decks.
Yeah, something like that. It was like 10 15. Cards. I know that wasn't 15.
Right, and 10 cards is enough to change the engine of something like Greymon, right? You typically have 6 level 6s, 6 to 7, and then you might change some of your 5s and 4s depending. But generally speaking, most of the core is the same, right? So in just using a Greymon deck as an example, you can easily go from playing a Greymon, like an OTK Greymon deck to a control Black War Greymon deck. You can completely change the playstyle by citing. And now, yes, you don't have access to answers like floodgates or such against some decks. But sometimes just switching that playstyle depending on the matchup is enough.
And I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's a skill thing. Like if you're able to go from a War Gray OTK version to a Black War Gray, just obviously by switching the top end stuff, I think that adds more to it. It's like, all right, cool. You know, you're playing against, I don't know, let's say something that's a tamer heavy deck, right?
Right,
so
exactly.
Let's say you're playing against Cross,
Perfect
and you're
example.
natively a War Greymon deck. And let's say you lose game 1 just because they bum rushed you too fast and you couldn't deal with it. You couldn't control the pace of it. Again, I'm throwing what ifs, you know. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's get Black War Greymon to this instead and control the board state. And now you do well. All right, now it's on your opponent. Let's say you lost game 1, you won game 2. Now it's onto your opponent. It's like, all right, what else can I do now to switch it up if I got into this? So like, if they run generic stuff, that's generic options that they can do, or you know, maybe a different cross or something or whatever, because they know they're going against Black War Greymon has more protection, or you know, blowing things up, or they switch up their style of, do I hold my tamers longer? Do I do this? Do I do that? I don't know. I'm just throwing like a bunch of what ifs in this scenario. But I think it gives more skill involved to it, and more like skill. What was I'm looking for?
Skill expression.
Expression. I was thinking impression. I was like, that's not impression. Like that doesn't make no sense in my head. Anyways, that gives more skill impression to be able to do that. If a Greymon player switches back and forth and wins a regional, that's impressive. It's like he goes one game from OTK style to Black War Greymon control style, back and forth depending on the matchup. I think that's impressive as AF, and I think that's a good thing to be able to do that. We're at a point for like Greymon decks. There's so many of them. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to switch that like that, I think that's good. If you're again, let's go back to the Royal Knights, right? As a Royal Knights player, maybe you choose because of the format not to run some of the old, like Alphamon, for example. Alphamon is a perfect example of people who like love and hate Alphamon, right? The BT13 one. You, for example, love Alphamon, right?
Right.
And Kitorismon. But let's say someone else doesn't. They can side deck those, and for certain matchups, bringing that out, and it switches their style of their decks too as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's so much things that you can do, and gives you more options as well. You talk about wanting a 60 card deck, right? You always talk about that. Now you kind of have that, but in a side deck though.
Yeah, the thing with me and 60 card decks though is more about it's not about answers as much as it is something like consistency, right? And I say consistency because generally speaking, unless you're a non-monocolor deck, your deck is playing 3 to 5 boosts of sorts and 2 scrambles at bare minimum. That's 7. Your 7 card utility slot that you used to have. If you consider the makeup of a deck being 12 rookie, I mean, actually, this is perfect. Remember, you were asking me, there's something you wanted to cut, and you were like, I hate that I'm going the Varni route and I'm cutting myself to playing 11 rookies.
Yeah.
Because I have gone from playing 12 rookies. I used to be stringent on my ratios. 12 rookies, 10 champions, 8 ultimates, 6 to 7 megas, 0 to 2 level 7s. Let's say 3 to 5 tamers. So that's what, 12, 22, 30, 30, 12, 22, 30, 36 to 37, 39, 42. That's like 42 cards, right? At the minimum, if you're running level 7s. And you used to have 8 flex spots before boost. You had 8 flex spots. We got training boost. Generally, you run at least 2, if not 3 or 4. You still had like 4 flex spots, whether you want to run more tamers, more level 6s, or some options. But now, because of training boost and scrambles, you no longer have utility spots, so to say. Your utility spots are now consistency spots, which is 3 to 5 boost of sorts. Sometimes 3 to 6, 3 to 7, and 2 scrambles. So let's say 7 cards is locked into playing consistency cards. You don't have the space for techs. But I mean, you kind of have space for techs, but you don't have easy space for tech cards. And you definitely don't have easy space for utility slots. So what does that mean you cut? Are you going to cut a boost? Well, I don't think I really want to cut a boost. So because you run so many consistency cards, where does that leave you in the deck building process? Well, I guess I got to cut down on my ratios. So in my decks, generally now it's 11 rookies, 9 champions. Depending on the deck, it's 7 to 8 ultimates. If I'm running X antibodies, I'm running 8. If I'm not running X antibodies, sometimes I'll get away with 7, but I probably still play 8. And then 6 to 7 megas stay the same. 1 level 7, unless I'm a deck where my level 7 is this big combo and I can play 2, or I'm Magna X and I can skip a level, so I have that spot that I can use for level 7s, you know? So that just going from 12 and 10 to 11 and 9 is giving me 2 tech spots. So whenever I'm looking to build a deck, that's my 2 tech spots now, because I don't have space to cut consistency options. And when talking about like a 60 card deck, I don't mind playing 7 consistency cards-ish, but I would love to be able to fit more cards. I don't want to necessarily fit a whole extra 10, but sometimes in the case of like Lilithmon, I hate playing 10 rookies in that deck. I play 10 rookies, 8 champions, 8 ultimates, fucking like 8 to 9 megas, because it's like 6 Lilith, Anubis, Darktra Ace. What did I name there? Oh, and then there's like Ruin Mode, sometimes Dexmon. But then you run options as well, because you have to run, you don't have tamers, so you end up running 8 to 10 consistency options. So the cuts come on the rookie part, and yes, of course, but you know, you're a bad deck builder. You should just build your deck better and not play, you know, optimize your deck better. But you can only optimize it so much, right? Like Lilith hasn't topped, and for good reason. The deck isn't the best into a lot of the decks, and I don't necessarily care about the answers into the meta so much as I just care about like facilitating my core game plan, which sometimes just seems to not exist. As weird as it is to say, like sometimes you like there's 2 builds of Lilith. I know we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I feel like I have to explain. There's 2 builds of Lilith. Number 1 is Turbo Lilith, and then what? I would literally name the deck that. You play Goblimons, you play the Ogremons, and then you draw all these cards, you get into Lilithmon, but you don't have any inheritables. They're all like, when you discard a card, draw one. It's like, okay, cool, I guess. But then you have the other way, that is the full Lilith thing. You know, you get to negate an attack, and you have like the Dobermons, you can draw a card and gain a memory. But then good luck getting there sometimes, right? And you can't intertwine those decks because their pieces, the engines are so heavy that I just wish I had access to playing a 60 card deck, because then I could play my 12 rookies, play my 10 to 11 champions, and try to really bring these engines together and make it a little bit more consistent. I don't want a side deck as much as I want the expansion in my main deck to account for more of what my deck is trying to do. in saying that, let's talk about Dragon Ball real quick. So Dragon Ball Masters, they have a 50 to 60 card main deck. And if I say any of this wrong, it's been 2 or 3 years since I played Masters, so please do correct me if I'm wrong. I believe deck building restraints, you are bound by the color of your leader. So you can't include red cards if you have a blue leader. But if you have a blue-red leader, then you can include blue-red cards. I think that's how it goes. And when you pay your, because I know when you pay your energy cost, sometimes you'll have like green and blue on the energy cost, but then I believe your leader is also green. And I could be wrong. So again, let me know in the comments. They have a side deck, however, in Masters. They play best of one. But because of the because of the way that the game works, you have to reveal your leader to your opponent. So they have a chance to basically, it's best of one pre-side. You see, oh, he's playing Halo Coup. I know that's a Fusion World deck, not a Masters deck, but it's the first one that popped into my head. Just roll with me. They're playing Halo Coup, and I'm playing Cell Jr. Let me do this, and I'll side this in, blah, blah, blah. But you're only playing that one match, but it still does matter because you have the knowledge what your opponent's playing. So like, yes, you have your 50 to 60 card main deck, and then you can side in based on how bad your matchup is. But I feel like...
I think that's dumb, by the way.
It's because games in Dragon Ball can take so long. It's like Gundam, because Gundam, obviously there's no side deck, but I think most events, if not like all the major events, I think they're going to be best of one. The same thing with One Piece, because games can sometimes just go on for fucking over an hour. So I know that's why they limited Dragon Ball. One Piece was definitely the same thing in like its early days, because One Piece started as best of 3, I believe. And then they switched it to best of 1 because events were running over time so much. And I think Gundam, I mean, you've played Gundam, so you know how those games go.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'll get faster when we get more sets in, but Dragon Ball having that pre-side deck, I feel like Dragon Ball has had more of a diverse meta than Digimon. And I'm not saying that Digimon doesn't have a diverse meta at times, but I don't know if there's enough diversity amongst the decks that can compete. Even if you introduce a side deck, I don't know if there's going to be enough diversity amongst decks for side decks to not just kind of be this toxic thing where it's like, all right, everybody's siding against, I know Royal Knights isn't the best deck in the format. It's like one of 3 because it's obviously Sakuya, Growlax, and Royal Knights. But everybody just decides, you know what? Royal Knights is the worst matchup at times. I'm just going to side deck against Royal Knights, and then Royal Knights just gets battered all day and ends up not topping because everybody side decked against it with 2 floodgates that they're not color restricted on playing, because in Digimon, obviously, as long as you can pay the memory for it and you have for an option, the color requirements on field, you can play, but it's a Digimon we're talking about. We're talking about Digimon floodgates that cost 3 to play. You drop I had that happen once. Somebody dropped a can't play floodgate and can't play Digimon by effect floodgate on me. And guess what? I think that was the Dragon Links player I played against, and I lost that match. It was somebody who did that. Might have been him. Because I can't answer that. I can't reduce my play cost. So I have to hand you memory. And all of my stuff, especially if you're putting me to like 1 memory, 2 memory, handing you 10 is unreasonable at times. And then I also can't play Digimon by effects, so you shut down Purge. And now I definitely don't have an answer. I can't do Medieval because I have to pay full cost for Medieval. I can't drop Dexmon because 20 play cost. I don't know. I would talk about this if I had a better example than Royal Knights. I know I'm talking about the best deck in the format. I know I'm talking about a deck that terrorizes a lot of people. I know I'm a Royal Knights player. So I'm not trying to make the case specifically for Royal Knights, but I'm trying to make the case generally speaking for any deck that kind of just has like side deck this and your chances of winning that matchup like go up exponentially. I don't know if that's necessarily a healthy thing for Digimon to have. That's how I feel.
Okay, let me counterpoint real quick.
Good.
So since you're talking about Dragon Ball and the Yu-Gi-Oh side of things, some tier 1 decks have an instant answer and a hand trap. like D shifter. People used to back in the day side that card in, and no matter what, that best deck in the format was still the best deck in the format with every single deck siding that card in.
Right.
So same concept as this, right? You have people will side deck against Royal Knights. Royal Knights needs to side deck against that too. So if they know their worst answer is Floodgates dropping, you need to make sure you have Crimson Blaze, Marcus, whatever it is, so you can just stop that, right? Like I think that sounds like a very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, what was me, right? Oh man, they side deck against me, but you can do it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the thing. Yeah, sure, it's easier for people to side deck against you, but it's easier for you to side deck things too, and that's where it becomes skill expressive, and that's where it becomes not. I don't think that's toxic at all. That becomes more. People complain about the deck not being skill based. Instant skill gap now. If you're a Royal Knights player and you couldn't side deck against Floodgates, that's a you problem, not a.
Before you go on,
Floodgates killed me.
Well, so before you go on,
that's a regular thing, anyways.
Right, and I have to talk about that. That's why I say I don't think Digimon is built for side decking. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, you don't have a resource system, right? So I guess your resource is the fact that you can normal summon once per turn, if that matters, right? Obviously, that's why everything gets special summoned and this summoned and that summoned to get around the one normal summon that you can do. And if you use that one normal summon, you don't get another one until your next turn, or if a card gives you another normal summon.
But in like Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah, sure. But if you cancel that normal summon, sometimes decks are dead. Like, that's a very
exactly
thing.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like that normal summon, because it's once per turn. I think I acknowledge that's why so many decks in Yu-Gi-Oh are toxic, because of the amount of special summoning that you do for combos. Negating that one normal summon might just stop a lot of decks in the water, and not every deck has an answer to it. Not every deck plays for that one normal summon. But I lost against Purple Hybrid because I couldn't answer Psychmon. And in the time that I did answer Psychmon, they had another Psychmon. And sure, the thing would be, all right, well, like, I'm going to side deck in, let's say, you know, I'm Royal Knights, right? And if the regionals that we went to in Virginia, if that was a side deck format, I would have probably built my side deck to be obviously Marcus's and what's that other card called?
Queen Device?
Queen's Device. I probably would have had Crimson Blazes. And thinking about purple matchup or decks that can recur, I would have had Black Automon Oovers. Those cards don't matter if you don't draw into them, however, right? And
but that's for every side deck, for Yu-Gi-Oh too.
Right.
Like you can side deck all the Ash Blossoms that you have in your side deck, or whatever you have in your side deck, and not draw. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But you still have the option of getting there.
But I main decked answers to the floodgates, because we sat down the night before and I was like, I need to have answers to these floodgates. I main decked options to floodgates, and I still couldn't draw into them. So it's not necessarily to sit there and say that, woe is me, I couldn't, you know, I couldn't side deck to be like, sometimes it's just, woe is me, I couldn't fucking play the game. Because yeah, for as much card draw we have in Digimon, I saw somebody made the comment. I don't know who made the comment. But somebody made the comment to say,
it's an interesting take. Yeah, for sure.
Somebody made the comment that Royal Knights players, something about the draw power in Royal Knights. And I think they said something along.
Unless we're thinking of two different comments.
We might be. The comment that I'm thinking about was somebody said that Royal Knights players shouldn't have access to as much draw and search power as they do, because they're already gaining advantage from playing level 6s. I think that you also, if you're watching this, you also said that Omegamon's a searcher. You're not thinking of Omegamon. You're thinking of on-play draw one Omegamon, which is probably a fair card. You're probably thinking of Last Guardian, which, you know, is a one-cost search.
Yeah, they're both white cards, and they came out of the same set.
They both cost 4. Right? Yeah. But somebody said that. And so, like, in talking about that, like, if I generate my draw power, whereas normal decks, right, you draw by Digivolve. That's the thing that makes Digimon different from all other games, because you don't draw in other games the way that you do in Digimon. Well, I guess you search in Yu-Gi-Oh! Search out.
It's different.
But you don't draw in other games the way you do in Digimon. So inherently, by playing a deck that is not Digivolve based, you are losing
handicapping
the draw
yourself.
Power. Right, you're kind of handicapping yourself. That's why a card like Cool Boy is so crucial, because now every time I play my Knight, I get a card to replace it, and I get to reduce that play cost. I now have a search card, because before we only had the Dynasmon. Search 4, grab 2. So I get a card to replace it and one more, and then everything else was a self-replace. If we're going to talk about card economy, Raw Knights before was just replace one except for Dynasmon, which was replace one, draw one.
Plus one.
Or draw plus one, right, thank you. Now we have with Cool Boy, essentially the ability to go up to +3 on most Royal Knight plays, depending on what Knight you're playing, because it's 4 Cool Boys. Tap 4, draw 4. To replace one card.
I mean, damn, if you have all 4 Cool Boys, you got that's not a different story. I was thinking just the one.
Well, okay, so if you're going, let's say 2 Cool Boy. 2 Cool Boy on average means you get the Dynasmon equivalent. You have paid 8 memory to now every turn get a +1 on card draw. If you're playing something like Dynasmon, you're now going +3 potentially. If you're playing Omekamon, you don't get a +1 because it's just going to replace itself. But if you play like Lord Knightmon, that also is a +1. You get to draw. Actually, that's a +2 because Omekamon can draw 1, and then Cool Boy draws 2, so you draw 3 cards +1 or +2. Sorry. And that's how you make decks like that better in Digimon. Raw, what's that deck called? 7 Great Demon Lords. Their power comes
because they don't have no draw after a while.
Right, you don't have any draw. You have to rely on milling your cards, but milling, as good as it is for that style of deck, it's not putting cards in your hand. You can't use them to your advantage. Or probably the better example, even though it's not a Mega Zoo deck, Heavy Metal Dramon requires you to trash your hand, but only like a quarter of the effects in that deck actually allow you to utilize your trash as a second hand. You would think that Ace would have Blast Digivolve from trash or more effects to really interact with the fact that they're in trash. You have to play this 4-card hand that doesn't give you a lot of options to do stuff on your turn. So playing,
and you have to trash too. It's not like you don't. You can choose or go 1 or 2 is trash 2.
Right, exactly. So playing these decks that are Mega Zoo based or require you to go neg on card advantage, essentially. D-Reaper, well, I can't really use D-Reaper because they replace with Searcher. But sometimes cards don't easily replace.
And for D-Reaper,
it's probably not the best example. Mother Eater is probably a better example, right?
Yeah, because at least in D-Reaper, right, you're always having your net 0, right? The Searcher is
exactly.
You play a card to draw a card. So you always have that. Plus you have the Pendulum Feet Search that's basically a +1 because you grab 2 cards off of it. Eaters doesn't have that. Eaters kind of has that.
You have a draw 1, but it costs more.
You have a draw 1. Correct. That's where the issue is. Your draw 1 is always a 3 cost play unless you have sources underneath. You don't like inherently play it for 1 cost. And so that's where like it becomes a little weird, and like that's why to me it feels worse than D-Reaper at the moment, just because of that. But you do have like other searching ability, like Yugo. If you play Yugo, if you play Mireille, it's a
you have to
trash
that's why you have to play cards like Mireille, so that you can facilitate that draw, because
more ways to get there.
You don't have it otherwise. And I'm not mentioning this to say you're right or wrong. That's topic for another day. You talking about, not you, the commenter talking about Royal Knight's disadvantage to playing powerful things should be a lack of draw power. I'm saying that to talk about the floodgate thing. Sometimes we just can't draw into it, like as the Royal Knights player, and sometimes decks won't be able to like draw into it. And yeah, I mean that's the manner of RNG, right? Like that's the entire game is half. You could You can change the scale as you want, but let's just say the game is 50% RNG and 50%. Whether you think differently of that, we're not going to talk about that today as a topic for another podcast as well. But for Yu-Gi-Oh, I think the game
it's even worse than Yu-Gi-Oh. You don't even have a mulligan.
That is true, but you have more play starters.
And your your reasonings for Digimon shouldn't have it. Honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh probably shouldn't have it with your reasonings for Digimon, because like you don't even have a mulligan. You have no chances of even. You can draw your 5, and none of the cards you side deck don't even matter because you didn't draw into it, or like because the way the nature of Yu-Gi-Oh, you don't need to draw. You just search your pieces and that's it.
Right.
Like who cares about throwing, Raigekis, Harpy's Feather Dusters, or some shit like that when those are not searchable cards. Like who cares about putting Ash Blossom or Ghost Ogre or Fact Veiler, whatever it is that you have in your side deck that you don't feel like maining. Like those cards are unsearchable, not searchable. You can't draw into. You can hope to draw in your 5 cards, and you hope to God that you haven't when you open it and your opponent goes, I don't know, what's today's world, and they hard drop the malice rabbit card, and you go, F, I can't do anything because I can't stop them from banishing cards because the one card that I do have, I didn't draw into it.
Right.
So like in that aspect, and honestly, it's even worse than Yu-Gi-Oh. You can't side deck against everything because Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a lot of decks that you can, but there was a time being because side decks has been around since day one of Yu-Gi-Oh, basically. Right. There is times in Yu-Gi-Oh where it is a 2 or 3 deck format, and people love those formats because you can predict.
It's so easy to play into, yeah.
But it's also skill based because you got kind of like side deck for the side deck, if that makes sense. And
yeah,
so
I know
like,
what you mean.
Yeah, and those eras, they were side decking when it was like your top 3 cards, just your top 3 triangle, which Digimon is always usually a triangle for the top tier decks, usually, most times. And you go, all right, cool. I'm playing 1A. I got a side deck against 1B and 1C. Call it a day and throw in a couple cards here and there. And like that was a thing that you could have done. And then you ran into one of those rogue matchups that's just a hard anti-meta type of strategy. SOL, you better be able to play out of it and hope to God that you had the outs already in your deck or something like that. Like the issues you have with Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh's been through it already. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's why I think it's okay. Yes. And I think that's why it's okay for Digimon to be able to do that too.
But we're talking about 2 games with just inherently different systems of play. They just don't play the same, where those things in Yu-Gi-Oh, they feel like they're a little bit mitigated because of the style of how the game is, because of the gameplay loop. I'll call it that, the gameplay loop. The gameplay loop in Digimon is so different. And this is why I'm saying, like, I can be swayed, but I'm just saying, like, this is my initial thoughts when I think about side decking in Digimon. My initial thoughts is that the gameplay loop in Digimon would make the game more toxic than it currently is to some people. I'm not saying the game's toxic right now. I think the game is fine. We have some toxic cards, Gravity Crush, and we have a toxic deck in Tsukuyamon, and we have cards that I hate in Davis and Ken. But like that's 3 things. Let's say we eliminate those from the equation, right? And we move into EX10 with let's say the ideal world is moving in EX10 with no Gravity Crush. Let's say every memory gaining card is banned. Tsukuyamon
gets hit.
I guess they don't have Taomon, right? Yeah, they get hit.
Whatever it is, just get hits.
Because they're still going to be playing Scramble. They're probably going to play Taomon Ace, so they can still do the same thing.
But I'm saying like we don't know what they're going to do with Tsukuyamon because there's so many avenues they can go with it. Let's just say they get hit.
So let's say it gets hit and it's still a good deck because it feels like it's still going to be a good deck no matter what card gets hit from it. Let's say Royal Knights, I don't know, let's say they lose Purge. I don't think any deck, let's say no other deck gets touched up, right? Let's say they just touch up the big 3. Oh, let's also say they touch up Omni, because that's the next big one I've been hearing about. And what do you hit in Omni, Dan? I don't know. Is it? Do you hit Ultra
You just go Ultra S because that enables
Right?
the OTK like straight up.
Okay.
I mean, you can hit the Miraculous, I guess, because you can get a rookie from trash.
Does that matter?
Sometimes, yeah.
All right. Let's say in the ideal world, I'm not saying that this is a hit I advocate for. I don't know enough about the deck to say it. Let's say in the ideal world, they hit Ultra S. So we go into a completely fresh format, unified, of course, and we don't know like what's going to be what's going to top. Black War Gray looks to be strong. Gaiomon gets support inherently. They look to be strong. What else we got coming out of EX10, Dan?
Dark Masters.
Dark Master. Let's say they can do something.
It's good.
Bagramon.
Myotismon is really good. Looks in like.
Let's say all of these villain decks actually come out the set being able to do something. Don't know where they're at, but being able to do something. The side decks for every deck is probably going to be stuff along the line of what's it called? Because we're talking about purple. Black or Gray is the only like non-purple one I think we mentioned there. I think everything else is like purple adjacent, right?
Yeah, or it's black. I can look it up real quick while you're talking.
And they all play, essentially, what I'm trying to get is they all play stuff in or from trash or utilizing the trash in some sort of way. So the first event, everybody's going to think, well, I should probably like side deck Black Gautomons and try to remove cards from trash. Even if, obviously my deck doesn't play purple, I can just get that card out of trash, blah, blah, blah. Or let's say, you can boards.
Lucamon, the new Appmon stuff.
Oh, especially like with what Lucamon's being able to do. Like, yeah, you're trying to remove cards from trash, and then you also want to hit on like the crackback because let's say like getting Tamers on the field and getting bodies on the field like Myotismon. So you play something like Dexmon so you can try to clear boards a little bit easier. Like those are the side deck cards we think about when you're trying to think about like what to tech into a matchup. Then obviously you have like Black or Gray. It's like, all right, well, like I want to go playing Black or Gray, and then I could switch into playing Gaiomon. And nothing there sounds horrible in terms of like this deck is going to rise to the top. Oh, we forgot to mention the Blue Tamer. No, the Blue Tamer. Blue Tamer. And Sayo. The loop bullshit. Yeah. Ideal format, you hit the Blue Tamer, so no loop shit. And let's just say Sayo and Co. also gets hit so that Galaxy can't run shenanigans. Like we're trying to head into like...
I forgot about Biosmon in the EXM.
Right. So we're trying to head into the ideal format where nothing is overly busted. That seems like a format where I'm like, okay with side decking because there's so much diversity in the decks that are coming out and the decks that are available that you really can't say like right now, sure, I can't remember the last tournament, but I know we saw a pretty diverse meta chart that saw maybe 8 to 10 decks top.
Something like that, yeah.
But the decks that are on top, like what do you side deck currently against Tsukuyama?
Depending on your deck, it really depends on what deck you're playing though.
Forget about the deck that you're playing. What answer does any deck really have to I know Tsukuyamon isn't like the most winningest deck, but what Tsukuyamon is capable of doing?
I mean, you add maybe
capable of stopping it.
Anything that's like Sec Bomb related, right? Like Purple Hybrid has a good matchup just because you go,
I guess,
you rivals, GG.
But then they also like suspend your Tamers and then you can't attack on the next turn, or you get ruin moded. So
again, sure, sometimes, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
Usually swing and it doesn't matter, and they have no protection, so you can deal with whatever it is.
That doesn't matter though. What I'm saying is that like, just looking at the top end of what they play, they're playing. Most decks were playing 2 Ruin Mode, 2 Valder Arm. Their combo is looking to go into Ruin Mode, blanket 10k, or go into Valder Arm, lock down your Tamers, or Digimon on field. And then you can't unsuspend. So you don't really have anything you can do on your next turn. And I know...
Right, but like, so Tsukuyamon's like, the thing with Tsukuyamon is like, can you slow them down from doing their things? Like, let's say, let's go in my head canon of me playing Digimon versus Tsukuyamon. My job is to try to slow them down before they can even do their thing.
Right.
So if they're climbing up the combo, and I have a perfect Digimon stack going on, when they play that token from that Tsukuyamon, guess what happens? I play a token, I DigiGuard that stack, and now your combos is dead in the water. So like stuff like that is possibility. If
you were just playing Diaboromon, you didn't even need to side deck that matchup.
Sure. My side deck, if I were to, I would already had like things like ulti flare in it. That would have been my side deck stuff. Like I'm throwing ulti flares in it because I'm just trying to evolve and pop if possible. Or in my you know, what's it called? Security, right?
Okay.
And so, cause like I want things like that in my security, right? Or I would add, let's say I'm not running OG Armageddon. I want to get Armageddon out as soon as possible. That's a side deck card for me, maybe, because I could get that out. If I get that out before they combo off, then when they get into their 7, which matters, they don't activate effects. No room mode, no Volder, definitely. And now they go sit there like, oh, whoops, I can't do anything, because it's very hard for them to deal with something like that's a 15k beater that has an effect that says no to you.
Right. But you can also main deck those cards in Diaboromon. Like Diaboromon has enough space that you can get away with main decking.
Maybe I don't want to run. The thing is, like, for that, right? Maybe I don't want to run Armageddon or ulti flares because I want more consistency in my first game of whatever matchup I'm playing against. So like those 2-3 card slots that could be in it could be more boost or more scrambles. Because like, for example, I don't run scrambles because I run what's it called? Catastrophe cannons. Yeah. I love catastrophe cannons. That's why I run.
I love cat cannons too.
But if I had the option for a side deck,
of course, yes,
I'm side decking I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? That's
I agree with
that's
that
the
concept.
logic of what the point of the side decking is. Like, all right, if I have 10 cards.
But we're just talking. That is just one deck we're talking about, and that's just Diaboromon.
Sure.
And that's a deck.
That's what I said in my head. If I'm playing that deck.
That's the flexibility of playing Diaboromon, because you have like playing those cards don't mean that you lock yourself out of doing anything else. Like, yeah, it's just all right. Well, I'll be a little bit less consistent, and I'll have these cards. Digimon has generic answers though, and that's what I'm trying to say with the vast majority of decks. Diaboromon has a natural answer into Tsukuyamon if you get into Diaboromon beforehand, but you have main deck answers. Diaboromon has answers into it right now, as long as you get into it before they get into Tsukuyamon.
Sure, yeah.
But for,
you also have
I don't know,
DP protection too.
Let's say something like, what's that deck called? Dinos, you know, my favorite deck.
Okay.
So
let's talk about it.
Digivolve and
protection.
Bounce protection, right?
Correct.
Do you have access to DP reduction protection? I don't remember.
Natively? No.
Not natively? Okay. So you can get what do you even play? I don't think there's anything that you can put in that protects you from DP reduction.
I would have to like scour the archives of cards, but
I would too. So they can basically pop you as Dinomon, and then you can come back and you can pop their lowest DP, but their token is going to absorb that, and then they can just go into like Volder Arm and suspend you.
Well, it's suspended, right? It's a suspended Digimon, so you suspend whatever you suspend. That's the lowest DP.
Right. So
like, let's say they pop.
Okay,
Dino,
yes.
You play it out. You can suspend their Tsukuya, whatever, and then pop it.
Yes, correct. So you would be able to do that, and that could stop them. But like, obviously, one of the problems is getting into Dinomon. Let's say, but in the ideal world, you get into Dinomon, that happens. I guess maybe Dinomon's a bad example, because in my head that seems pretty good.
I mean, like, what else can you do? Like, I think the DP, not DP, I'm sorry, the floodgate that's Kokuomon that says you can't ignore Digivolution requirements, that would work, right? Against Kokuyamon? You can't not Evo for free, right?
No, you'd have to run that one that can't reduce Digievolution costs. And
okay, so like you run more of those, something in your side deck.
don't.
So like against Omni, right? Against Omni, that card works. The Kokuamon, you can't go from Agu to War Gray, basically.
Right, and that would matter in that matchup, and yeah, like that would be a great side deck card.
That'd be a side deck card for you to have.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but you can also just hard drop War Greymon because it reduces play cost, doesn't it? Or am I thinking of something?
There's two different War Greymons you're thinking of.
Or do they get played in Omni? That like the one that reduces play cost, or no? So okay, you do have an option to reduce.
It's usually what it is like the four of the new Nokia CS version, and then it'll be like 2 of that one. So like you have to hard drop that and then hope to God, but you can't even evo your Gabu, so it doesn't matter. You have to pop it in pass turn.
Gotcha. I don't know,
but like
I don't have the best examples again, lined up right now.
Sakuyamon, maybe not the best example off the top of the head because it's like, all right, how do you deal with that? It's like same thing with like Fenrir, but like
right, exactly.
You can do different things.
Fenrir.
Like I would Fenrir max power. Like it's hard to deal with.
Exactly? What do you do against Fenrir? Like, and so like that's my point, right? Like, what do you do against Fenrir? What do you do against Sakuyamon? Like, in terms of sideboard answers, like there's nothing that you can do, but I bet you there's definitely something that those decks can do against whatever it is that you're gonna bring out. And then, but then on the flip side, for something like Royal Knights, where there is a very clear answer, it kind of creates like a severe spectrum. Royal Knights on one end, Sakuyamon / Fenrir on the other end, where it's like, I can't really sideboard against this deck, so I'm just gonna try. I can definitely sideboard against this deck, and I know exactly what I'm gonna play. And of course, that's card games. That's the nature of decks and how they are. But talking about the gameplay loop and the way that Bandai creates decks and the way that power creep is designed in the game, is this a game that can really utilize sideboards, or does this make the game more toxic? Is the question for you, the audience.
So here's another thing you do, maybe like off the top of the head, I was just randomly thinking like, what could you do to stop Sakuyamon, right? Let's say sometimes they like to raise from a Renamon, right? Mm-hmm. Digimon Emperor could be a good side deck card, right? Because now you force them to evo to QB, and now they can't play Rico for free. They have to play it in a different way. Sure, right? So I'm saying like
that's it's an answer, yes.
There's things you can. I'm saying there's things you can do. Maybe not always the best. Like I would have to like look like, all right, like what? Because off the top of the head, I'm trying to think like, can't reduce evo evolutions. That's a thing, right? That's a floodgate you can throw in it.
Yeah, I agree with for Omni. Yeah, that's definitely a pain in their side.
No, but like it's also a pain in Sakuya because they reduce all the evos.
Oh no, sorry. I was thinking of now I'm thinking of the opposite one. You were the
I know. I'm
ignore Digivolution requirements.
I'm switching.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Like they can't go training into something because they can't reduce the evo. You know what I'm saying? Like they can negate or whatever. But like there's things you can do, and just I think like for those lower end decks, it would help in those situations, right? Like again, you have to play it out and figure out what it is. Like I haven't played against Sakuya in a couple weeks now, so like I'm just like in my head, like I'm not thinking like what could potentially be like the best, but like it's just easy answer to talk about Royal Knights because is an easy answer,
right? Exactly, there's an
card
easy answer
at the moment. Maybe that's Bandai's job to print more of those type of cards to stop certain things. And again, another thing could be, MSTs for options. If you tell me if you have a Justimon-esque type of card, right, for any deck, right, that's the answer against Sakuyamon, yes. Right? If any deck has a way to get a Justimon style card, an MST type of card, that's a perfect side deck. They have to make these type of cards, which they haven't, and they're very slow on making taper removal and option removals, because there's only 2 option removals. The X10 has a lot of taper removal, which is good, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
I know probably people don't like that. Some people are the type that are like, oh, I don't want my tamers to be interacted with. Bullshit. There should be tamer removal. There should be tamer interaction because
it's canonical. Forget it. It's canonical.
Yeah. In some decks, the tamers do more than the actual Digimon. Yes. So like, we need those. We need those for all types of decks, not just black or just purple, or I guess now just green, kind of, sort of, by suspending and not being able to unsuspend type of way or interacting. But like, red should have access to it, and like blue, unfortunately, and yellow. Blue. What backtrack? Blue does. It's called Hexablow, right? Yes. And then you know, yellow should have it. I don't think yellow has.
In talking about blue, when I talk about like the gap between like good decks or tier 1 and tier 2 decks with side decks, I immediately think about blue decks. Sure, we don't have any bona fide blue deck in the meta right now, but blue is a color that has access to one of the best forms of removal in the game. And yes, the counter argument, you can now for certain decks side deck into your bounce protection, but you also just have access to whatever floodgate, because I think blue has access to every floodgate natively.
The only one,
maybe missing one.
The only, they don't have the Cocoon one the black has. Legit, that's the only floodgate for that type of, you can't ignore Digivolution.
Requirements or cost?
Yeah. Requirements. That's the only,
so
it's the only floodgate, and it's crazy because I was like looking it up. I was like, all right, let me try to figure out this floodgate so I can play against Omni. And it's legit just that one, which is crazy. Right.
And you know, in the past,
the most.
In the past, we said that every color should have native access to every color floodgate. But you know, part of me also, with my severe dislike for blue decks, and yes, this is a very opinionated comment, I don't want blue decks to be able to side into any native blue floodgate. I would prefer if they're main decking, I don't know, Otamamon, but not Madoki Betamon. So I know that, all right, cool. They're going to stop me from, they don't have one that reduces or that stops play by effect either. I think they're missing that one too.
Maybe.
So maybe they're missing that one.
So they have Otamamon, they have the Syakomon, and Madoki Beta.
Right.
Is that the 3? Is that it?
I think so. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to say, let's say that blue doesn't have access to that. Blue is not a color that I really want them to have access to easily side into stuff. I like when it's main. I like the idea of main board things more because it forces players to make a decision. Like for me, I love not playing Marcus and Queen's Device, but I have to respect the meta. I have to respect that people are going to run floodgates. Therefore, I have to main deck those cards. And I would prefer other players to make that decision as well, rather than now we both have the easy out. Like you are now going to run probably 2-3 of them main board, and then you're going to side deck 2-3 of them. And now I have to side deck all of these removal options. And now our game has went from like playing the core game to just, all right, well, you played another floodgate, so I have to now go find another form of removal for your floodgate, or you answered my combo, or you did this thing. Now let me, I guess also because in Digimon, the tempos swing back and forth, like depending on the deck. For purple hybrid, there is no tempo swing. As long as you have a tamer on board, you're in the game. Or if you have a rookie in raising, like you are always in the game. Compared to something like Tyrannomon, you raise, stack gets answered, and then they deal with the Fortitude body. Now you got to build back up next turn, but good luck. You might get there, you might not. That's why I like the concept of like what Ukomon provides. I don't think we should have a tamer that does that, because I think that would be cracked. Like when you raise, hatch a new egg, because Mimi does it, right? But you have to have a green level 5 on board, a green level 5 or higher on board to be able to do that. And is what makes her so good. In decks that can efficiently utilize her, and that's why Ukomon is so good for aggro decks as well. I think the tempo swing in the game, the gameplay loop, the way that Bandai designs the game, just to wrap up pod here with my thoughts. Those are like the big things on why I'm not sure on side decking. Like I said, I can be swayed. I'm interested to hear what you, the audience, have to say.
Let me ask you this real quick, because I don't remember back in the day at all.
Mm-hmm.
Were you prior to Mulligan being a thing, were you someone that was like, we should not have Mulligan or we should have Mulligan? I don't remember.
Oh, we definitely should have Mulligan. I don't think that I was ever against Mulligan.
Okay. So you're cool with someone going, let me look at my 5, put it back, draw another 5, right?
Yes.
So why is not to have a playable hand? Why is it not okay for someone to be like, all right, I lost game 1. I need to side deck something to help me win this matchup?
I'm not saying that that's not okay. What I'm saying, or what I'm raising as a concern, is not that we shouldn't have side decks. I guess let me put it this way. It's the idea that if we do have side decks, I think the game currently doesn't support side decks well, is what I'm trying to get at. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was built from day one with side decks, and when you design cards, when you design decks, the developers design it with that in mind, and the players have access to it from the rip. Dragon Ball was probably launched with side decks from the rip, same concept. But One Piece, Digimon, Gundam, I mean, shit, even Fusion World doesn't have side decks. They didn't launch with a side deck, so it wasn't a concept for the developers to think about when they're designing cards or deck strategies. And I feel like if they were to introduce side decks into Digimon, it has to be something that they keep in mind as they develop decks and strategies, because I feel like it can get out of hand. Introducing it after the fact.
I don't think that's not. I just don't see it as being an out of hand thing. I just see it as another concept of it adds to the skill level of a player and the deck, right? Like, I don't
disagree with that.
I just don't see it as being like a toxic or bad in that way. I think it's just all pros to it, because we're to a point in a game where I think it would help benefit. Like, all right, let me give you another example, right? What if, hypothetical again, we get a generic card that Tyrannomon could use as their worst thing is balance and digital, right? Let's say they give you something that is digital protection for Tyrannomon.
We
right?
have Digivolve, so let's say the bounce protect, or we have both of those on a once on the Digi-Evolution chain because of the Metal Tyrannomon.
Yeah. So let's say they get like, I think it's DP neck then, right? They don't have protection against. Let's say you're able to get DP neck, but you have to like, it's not something that's part of your core combo or whatever, but it's something that you can side deck. Like, would you be okay with that, right? You don't have to waste the space in that time period for the deck, but you have it access.
So you're repeating the same things that I'm saying I don't have problems with. That I understand, and I'm with you on that part. But I'm not expressing the concern for a deck like Tyrannomon. I'm expressing concerns for the decks on the higher end that can get out of reach with access to a side deck. Or on the flip side, decks that can just get battered because of a side deck, because of the way that Digimon's gameplay loops. That's what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily against side decks. I don't mind a player, siding into this card or that card, but if it means that it makes this gameplay loop toxic, or if it means that I don't know. I've said it all during pod, and that's what I'm saying. It's not about it's not about this one deck having access to this one card that I don't want to main deck. It's about the entire game. The same way we talked about Scrambles, right? When Scrambles came out, we said Scrambles were busted. We knew it from the rip. We said that's a good damn card. You get the Digivolve reduced cost. You get to get a card back, and if they have a Digimon, you get a free Digimon. And now we're saying, yeah, we hate Scramble. Well, me and you, I should say. We hate Scrambles. We think Scrambles should go. That's what I express as concern, because Scrambles were made in a time where it was okay. And now, because Nighthawk said this in Discord, I can't remember the exact wording of what he said, but it was something along the lines of Scrambles kind of, I guess, like exemplified one of the problems with today's game, in that every deck is kind of like go fast, do things efficiently, cheat the memory gauge, blah, blah, blah. And Scrambles like exemplify that problem. And if we go back to a period of time, like if we pull scrambles out of today's game and we pull trainings out of today's game, the game slows down a lot because there aren't many. Go ahead.
Yeah. And those top tier 1 decks are still top tier 1 decks no matter what.
Yes.
And those tier 2 decks are still going to be tier 2 decks. It doesn't change anything.
Yes, I know. And we talked about this in the past. Like
the problem is we go from here to here. And guess what? These bars are still the same.
No, but what I'm saying is I don't know if those bars stay the same. If they get access to side decks, I don't think it goes from here to here. I think it potentially goes from like here to like here. It's a wider gap, in my opinion.
I don't think so.
And then that's what I'm getting at. And that's where our core differences lie. And we can end pod on that. That's fine. But maybe we've finally got the end point across to you, the audience, in that Varni thinks that side decks move tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 goes up here and tier 2 goes here. Whereas Dan thinks they stay in equilibrium and they move like this. What do you guys think? Are side decks something that we should introduce in the game? Are they something that we should consider? How big should the side decks be? Should it be 5 cards, 8, 12, 15? Let us know down in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. I apologize. I've been asking for that every video, and I've been meaning to do like comment reviews every video. Just know that we really do read every single one of your comments. There is no comment.
Sure do.
I'm going to say we have a 99.9% success rate for reading comments. If a comment goes by and it didn't get like a heart or a response from us, that's most likely just because we're all busy. Dan has the app on his phone, as do I. So sometimes Dan looks at something and I don't see it and I have to like go scroll later, or vice versa. But like, we read everything. So please drop a comment. Let us know. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And I will try to do comment reviews in upcoming podcasts. But that is it for today's episode of DigiPod, the digital podcast. Thank you guys for listening. And until we talk to you guys next time, peace out.
Catch you on the next one.